Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Action, Sci-Fi, and Fantasy Creators Lounge. I am your host, Barry Gaines of Gaines Entertainment, as well as the writer and director and editor and fight choreographer of the hit series A World of Worlds, where you can see on Amazon Prime, bingehorror.com, Google Play, and SoFi.tv. And today, I have a woman who is no stranger to being a badass on film. She's always kicking butt. She's always the one that most people feel like in the story. So let's all visit the woman, Mrs. Constance Payne. Constance, what's up, woman?
Yeah, that was one hell of an intro, man. I feel fabulous. I feel like I can hear the applause. It's crazy.
Yawa!
Shut up. We have a dozen more houses to search after this one, and I'm already tired.
So I just want to say, listen, number one, thank you for being on here, and also being the next Cayla Korvesian for my series, A World of Worlds. She's going to be the next Cayla, the next badass in my series. So that's going to be awesome. She's going to be a cannibal, sword swinging commander of an evil empire.
Yeah, pretty much like yesterday of my life. That's kind of just me in general. Like, that's what I do. Just eat the souls of my enemies and bathe in their blood.
That's it. This is pretty much an everyday thing. We just not even take it out of her realm. That's what she does.
Yeah, that's why I'm perfect for the part,
Hell
just
yeah, girl.
me.
So listen, you've been in so much stuff, for so long. So you've been in this game for a while. And, I went ahead and I looked at a lot of things that you were in. I think they're awesome. I think that you have a great talent. You're very natural in what you do, even if it's not for action, just in general. But
thank you. I like my regular person roles too, but I excel at the action and being mean. I do.
You do. That's your skill set. That's your thing. I love that. So, and a lot of people have seen you for a while, but they haven't really heard from you too much. You ask a couple of interviews and everything else, but people always want to know more. But the first thing I'd like to know is how you started all this. Where did it start? Were you always an actress since you was a little girl, or did you grow into it? How did it work?
Actually, I never thought I would ever be an actress. I never thought I would actually, do some modeling. I don't really model anymore, but I started off doing that in about 2010, 2011. And I had come up with a couple different jewelry lines out of insects. I would take, dead insects that I'd find on the ground and encase them in some resins and stuff like that and make some really dope-ass jewelry. And so I was looking for models, and, some of my friends, they're like, oh, I'm a model. And so I'm like, here's some jewelry, let's model. And I'm not talking a whole lot of shit, but most of the girls didn't work out. They weren't really bringing what I wanted to my jewelry line. And so then I started stepping in front of the camera, and I got to know my photographer friend, Ken Elliott, really well. We just started working together a lot throughout the years. And that's really kind of where it started. And then I decided that I was doing so many things for other people, like running other businesses and, busting my ass doing regular, normal person life. Yeah. And I wanted something that was for me. I've always been creative. I've always been a writer. I've always, made everything that I need with my hands. You know how hard it is to go shopping? Because I'm like, that for $75, I can make that shit for $20 in fabric. Give me my sewing machine, so I've always just...
You're just thinking way too much, man.
Yeah,
I know they hate you.
I'll take a picture of it and I'm like, I'll make that. Don't worry, I got this. So it got into Penny. Stop it! I don't know if you can hear my dog squeaking that toy, but she does it at very inappropriate times.
No, we really can't
anyway, hear you can't. Okay, great. So anyway, then I was like, well, I'm going to start being an actor, and I took an acting class. Well, actually, let me fast track back. I was like, I didn't even know how to be an actor. So I kind of looked on Craigslist and I saw there was some acting stuff on there. talk to some weird people. And
Yeah,
I'm
you
like,
will.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, Craigslist. Like, I won't even buy a couch on
Craigslist is like
Craigslist.
it's planet weird. Trust me, that's planet weird right there. So let's be careful.
Yeah. Oh, I don't. Yeah, like, I will not buy anything. And so to think that that's where I was trying to start is laughable at this moment. So
Yeah.
anyway, then I decided to take an acting class per a friend's suggestion, and my acting teacher was a dick. I feel like he just kind of liked fucking with a group of people. Like, he wasn't, a successful actor, and this is kind of what he did for money. And so I took a few of the classes, and then one of the other actors that was in the class also went to night school for film. And he hit me up on Facebook one day, and he's like, hey, my director for my night class is looking for a badass chick to play Rachel Cole in these little horror things that he does. And I'm like, okay, cool. So the director shot me a script. I looked at it, and I made some notes on, like what I would do as an actor for certain scenes. And, because I used to like be in publishing and stuff like that and edit books. So it was really easy for me to just kind of insert some ideas. And I'm just like, hey, man, these are my thoughts. If you don't like them, cool. But this is just what I see. And he's like, no, you're awesome. You got the part. And so it was a short film. And then he casted me in 2 other additional ones. And then he cut it all together and made a feature. And so that's really what my start was as Rachel Cole. And I haven't been to an acting class since then. I've done like a seminar here and there. But I just was so busy auditioning when we first got here to Atlanta that, if I'm not auditioning, I'm working out or I'm prepping for my next role. So.
Well, with doing this, since you got into the game and everything else, what did you find that most people were asking you to do? Because, in this industry, it's all about the look and whatever. So people say, well, I think you look for this, you could look for that. Well, what in your experience, what were you mostly getting, you think, in the beginning?
Really, people, I've gotten a lot of roles that were originally, they were looking for a man for. They wanted like a badass dude with tattoos. And like, I'm just badass in general. Whatever. And so it was very easy for me to kind of swoop in there and go, hey, it might be kind of cool to have a female doing this and tossing people around. They're like, wait, you can do that? I'm like, yeah, I do martial arts. I have for many, many, many years. I just got to know somebody's body weight and their balance and, what type of style that they're doing. So I don't know. I just don't commit myself to projects that I know that I cannot complete. So, I guess that answers your question.
Well, no, it does. And also too, it kind of like, blends into my next one, which is pretty much, what do you look for? Like when you go into, like, listen, I know you probably get, offers all the time, but what is a characteristic of a production that you say they got to have this before I even say yes?
A compelling story, man. I get scripts all the time. People always inboxing me, and I read them, and like I read the first page. If I can get past the first page of your script, you know how to write, and I'm interested. Because, you have to, like I said, I used to be in publishing. And so with books, you've got to get somebody addicted to turning the page.
Right.
And, and that's the same thing with film. If you don't have that boom in the first opening scene, like your movie's boring. Like we got to, have a punch. And then, however, there's so many different styles on how you can, make a film work and flow, and whether it's drama, action, sci-fi, comedy, whatever, there's an art to that writing, and there's an art to the producing and the acting. So, I don't always have to show off my tattoos and be the badass on camera. I like dramatic roles. I like to know like that there's highs and lows and the levels, like there's real juice and meat and potatoes in how the lines read. Some scripts that I get, I'm like, do you even talk to people in real life?
Like that?
Like ever? Yeah, like ever.
Yeah, no,
like,
very true.
Have you ever had a conversation? Like, I can tell, I got a script last year, and it was hilarious because I had never met the person before, and I had called it. I'm like, this is a middle-aged father who is writing, you know, they were writing preteen lines. I said, who is writing for, like, he must have a preteen, and he's writing lines on how he thinks she talks and acts versus who she actually is. And I mean, I hate to say it, but I bet your daughter hates you. Because that's the script. It just, like, teenagers don't talk like that. Like, maybe you should have a conversation with your child if you're trying to write about somebody in her age of it. And then come to find out, like, everything that I had noted down about the back end of writing in that, I was right.
That's her husband, by the way. That is what her husband making his cameo. Right.
Yeah, he's making his bathroom run cameo. If you hear him peeing, sorry, it's a small place.
Hey man, it's all about this is off the cuff, so let's do it. Go for it.
No, pushing the tanks together. Okay.
That's all right. No, but I get that. I mean, sometimes you got some bad writing out there. And I know it can be annoying sometimes because, you know, somewhere in the weeds, there's something good there, but you have to go through the process of reading and just seeing whether or not it goes somewhere that may be interested. It may start slow and work yourself way to something really good. So I understand that, which is really good. So, but when you look at a script and you are trying to find out whether or not this is good and you actually pick one and you're like, you know what, I do want to kind of get down with this. Do you have a prep for your, you know, for any role? Do you have like a go-to prep or go-to way of doing things to get yourself ready? Or you just really concern yourself of like, well, depending what I have to do, it really depends on how I could prep?
I really like to get in the character's head. So if I have accepted a script, it means like I've read it to completion. And then I've already discussed with the director, you know, my thoughts on the character and their thoughts on the character and where we can meet in the middle on some things. And most of the times directors just let me do whatever I want. Sometimes people are like, nah, this is really what I meant by portraying this character in this manner. And that's totally cool. So I look up like psychology of that type, you know, like it really just depends on the genre of the movie. And I really try to pull myself out of my own state and get into somebody else's mental state and what their thoughts and feelings would be in, like, okay, if one of the scenes is scary, if I'm mad at somebody, like for what reason, what are my underlying frustrations, what are my underlying motivations, like what, you know, how am I to become this person? So really, I do a lot of general notes throughout the script. Like, I'll print them out. I'm old school like that. And I print them out and I highlight all my lines. And then I write all my character notes and everything on there and just really go from there. And when it comes down to the shoot, a few days before, well, actually the entire week before, I drop everything else that I'm reading. I don't read shit. All I'm doing is becoming your character.
You know? No, but that's a good prep though. I mean, that's something that I haven't heard. Everyone has their way and I can see that, but just some, like you're saying too, you're saying like the week, there's a time or whatever, when you say, okay, that's it. Everything drops. And you just concentrate on that, on your scene and what you have to do, you know, for a whole week. So that's a good prep. I mean, that's something to really kind of get you in there, because by the time you get there, I mean, you're gonna.
I know every line. Yeah, I know every line. I know every scene. I know how it's so, because it's like, it's really about reducing the stress of the anxiety that you have on set, because whether I'm on a small set or a big set, you know, there's a certain amount of anxiety. And, you know, sometimes like if I have a lot of lines, which normally I do, I really don't chat a whole lot with people while I'm there, because I'm just prepping for my next scene. Unless there's like a long period of waiting time before I have to, then I'll like chat with other people on set and this and that.
No, that's okay. No, that's cool.
But you know, it's a job. Like I am here to do a job, and it's like, and if I don't make the director fucking happy, I did not do my job. Like my job is to make people go, wow, that was better than I ever thought it could be, that I ever thought I could write it to be. You really brought it, da 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 da. If I don't get that, then, you know, I failed as an actor.
No, that's good. That's a good work ethic. And two, our industry is really small. They think it's big, but it is really easy to hear the comments or someone's, comment on somebody. I mean, if you did something wrong, you don't bring it or whatever. Yeah, your name gets around really quick. So you just going in there and say, listen, I'm going to do better than you want me to is the best thing. That's awesome. I think everyone should listen to that. Hey, listen to what she just said. Come in there and say, I'm going to do better than you think I can do. So that's the way to go. Now, you did mention, and I forgot to mention this too, you did martial arts for a while. When did you start getting into martial arts?
Well, I've been a gymnast since I was a little girl, and I didn't know like how well that skill set would transfer into, things like boxing, Muay Thai, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or anything like that until probably it's been about 8 years that I've been involved in. I mean, was boxing in high school, but I didn't know about like Muay Thai or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu until I was 25, I think.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, I'm revealing my age. Oh no.
Oh, no problem. Don't even worry about that. Yeah. Don't worry about that.
But yeah, I mean, I love martial arts, and I teach when we're not in quarantine, which I was really excited because we would already be in full swing. But I've got a ladies fight club, and I do free martial arts classes and jujitsu and stuff in the park. And so, we'll have women and kids there and just teaching them the skills that they need to know on how to keep somebody away from you. And it's whether, you have a stand-up game, which is more boxing and Muay Thai, but the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu comes into play. Like if somebody tackles you to the ground, most people don't know what to do. And because, especially when somebody's invading your personal space, we're always taught like we've got this personal bubble. And, and it's very traumatic when somebody interrupts that space. So knowing what you can do as a female, or male or whatever, I predominantly teach females, but it just gives you like I can't even describe that feeling. It just makes you feel strong and sturdy. And I found that more people that come to my classes, they're starting to tell people no more instead of being like a yes person.
Now, since you know all that, do you find yourself in an action film choreographing most of it? Do you find yourself, most of the time saying, listen, I'll just choreograph, this is the best? I mean, do you find directors just kind of trusting you on that most of the time, or do you always get that point of saying they think they know what they're doing and you're just trying to flow with it?
No, I mean, I get called in on a lot of sets that I don't actually act in to do some simple choreography and stuff like that, because like sometimes people are like, all right, we want this cool fight scene and this and that, and these are our actors, and it's like, well, do your actors have basic martial arts skills? Right. And well, no, but they listen, and it's like, okay, I can still make this look cool, like whether it be a gun snatch or like having somebody push somebody and get in their face, you know what I mean? Like, so some they know, most of the time people, they know what they want, they just don't know how to achieve that goal, and that's when they would bring me in. And if I'm an actor on a set and it's pre-choreographed, most of the time the choreography already works, because it's like, whoever is doing the production this isn't their first rodeo. So they have a lot of moves and things that work. And sometimes on set though, I'll be like, hey, I have this thought, this might be pretty cool. Like when I was joking with Avril, I'm like, I'm only cool with you beating the crap out of me if you're grabbing me and dragging me by my hair and throwing me off. Like, that's that was the first thing I thought of. I was like, man, that looks so cool. And it wouldn't hurt me because I know what I'm doing. And we could all talk about it and make it look really scary and really painful. But it just looks fucking killer in that final cut.
No, it would. Hell, see, that's. But you know what's funny? Now you figure, hey, listen, you say to yourself, I know what I'm doing. I'm going to prepare this right. Now, I know there have been occasions. We all had those moments, where we kind of get a little hurt. Do you have a memorable fighting moment in a production, like you say, I'll never forget this day? Good Lord.
Yes, yes, I
Oh, we
do.
all have one. Okay, which scores?
I
I'm curious.
do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to hurt me. But yeah, I fight some big motherfuckers, and like just not just on camera, but off camera when I'm training and doing that. Like it's really, really hard to hurt me. But my first film, the one that I was telling you about when I played Rachel Cole, so we're on set. We've been on set all day in the Florida sun. It was like 80, 90 degrees all day. There's really almost no shade. I've been sweating to death all day.
Yeah.
And I learned my choreography 20 minutes before I had to do this fight scene where I fought this big zombie. And Bill Asbury. Hi, Bill. Anyway, super nice guy. One of the nicest, most deadliest people I know. But anyway, so I learned my choreography like 20 minutes before I do the scene. And it was like a lot of real fast hand movements. And then I had to duck because his big old zombie hand was coming at me. And he's a big motherfucker, okay?
Yeah.
And it was my fault. Because like I said, it was just hot. There's all these variables. And when I was supposed to duck, I didn't. So his big old zombie hand, it wasn't even like a full punch, like full on punch. It was just like dead zombie arm coming at me.
Right, the big
It
swing.
was, yeah, it was like getting slapped in the face with a phone book.
Man.
It rang my bell, dude. And I was like, oh.
And do you find, does that happen a lot for you?
Yeah, and I've been an entrepreneur since my early 20s, so change and things like something being set in stone and then just being ripped out and then having to pick up the pieces and go in a slightly different direction to maintain the same goal is something that I've been doing for 15, almost 20 years. So I'm as long as it's discussed and it's like, hey, Constance, let's talk about this. Like I've never had anybody bark orders at me on set, and I would love to see how that fucking goes if it ever happens.
Well, I tell you what though, you know what? Probably won't anymore. You don't get that much anymore. I think they're still out there, but not much. I think that's like old school. It used to be that way, and some still do. I'm quite sure, but I think directors and producers know now there are too many other avenues for people to go. Like it's not about just one way anymore, and people can actually just build their own world if they want to without you. And I think that is a threat to a lot of directors and producers. And that's when it comes to us, indie people, that's a power that we have, and that's why the big guys are looking at sitting back to see what you can develop first. And then they want to come in and swoop in when everything is already developed. And then that's when indie people like ourselves say, whoa, listen, I've earned this. I've worked a lot for this. You're not just coming in, taking this shit when it's all, and I did all the work.
Yeah, this is my baby.
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying?
I've nurtured it. I've fed it. You have breastfed AWOW for how many years, Barry? You don't hand off the baby.
No, hell no. And we still growing this bitch. But too, all these characters that you have, do you prefer the writer to give you a backstory? Does a backstory matter for you as an actress? Some people need it, some people don't.
Not really. Like, to me, it's not like when I first read a script that I'm interested in, I read it to completion, like I said. And then I can kind of pick up on all the hints and the foreshadowing and like all like, of who this character is. And I make my notes and then I discuss that with the director. And it's like, hey, is this where you're coming from on this? And once I have these certain points of who a character is, I just do like, that's really it. It doesn't come down to, you don't need an entire life story to have a backstory for a character. But, it's like, okay, this person, they're a veteran. They've been to war. They didn't just drive a fucking truck. They were in battle. They have a child. Maybe they lost their child. The pain and anxiety that goes on with that. They're in a relationship, not in a relationship, freshly out. Like general things like that.
That's great. And then you know what? And I love the fact that you look at things logically. by saying, you know what, I know what I'm at. I'm not, in a fantasy world. I get what's happening, what this is all about, what I do, what I'm supposed to do. And I think that's great. I think a lot of actors and actresses out there who want to get into the game, not sure sometimes how to approach a set or even how to approach a director or a writer, whoever's in charge, upon like their character. I think some people want to do it too much, some people do it too less, they're not sure. And I think that the easiest way to do it is just listen. Like all these years doing what you're doing, all these different roles that you were in, all these different productions that you're experiencing in, out of all of that, is there something that you take away by saying, you know what, this is one thing I learned, and this is what I take with me no matter where I go?
I definitely feel like I learned something new on, every set. It always depends on who you're working with and this and that. But like at the end of the day, it's just being true to yourself and who you are and knowing what you're capable of, doing your research on your character, and don't let, I feel like I'm not talking shit on all acting teachers or anything. So nobody just like, think that I'm doing that. But I think that, yeah, I'm not hating on the teachers or nothing. There's a lot of really good instructors out there, but I think there is a good portion of people who weren't successful as actors, and now that's what they do as a living, is tell other people, how to be actors. But I sat in a lot of different seminars, and I feel like they enjoy getting people's nerves frazzled up, and they're the one, they're telling, oh, don't do this, don't do that, blah, 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 and it's all these things. And then when you walk into on a big set and you're terrified because of that poor instruction, then that's doing way more harm than good. I feel like whether you're preparing yourself to do fight scenes or not, I feel like martial arts is a good thing as an actor to do, to be able to just know yourself and who you are, and and care for the elderly. If you have elderly people, like, have empathy. There's some people that are trying to be actors that have zero empathy for others. And so being a selfless type of person will help. Having life experience helps. I'm a roll with the punches type of person. Like I said, I make most everything that I need in life with my hands. I, read it, write it. I do all my marketing. I do like all the Photoshop for my posters that I put out there. I control all my media and stuff. And some people, they're like, oh, I'm an actor. I've got to hire somebody to manage my website, but you only have one credit to your name. Like, use your finances a little more wisely than that, or learn how to build a website. It's really motherfucking easy these days. There's a lot of things that you can do, and to help yourself and market and work on the back end. And that just helps you to become who you are. Like, that's a everlasting journey. Like, every day I still figure out new things about myself. I'm at a really good place in my life right now. Hasn't always been that way, but it's made me who I am today. And, we have to accept, failures and loss and this and that. One thing that I really hate when I'm talking to somebody who's, wanting to take the next step in their career, whether it be acting or anything else, and I'm talking to them, explicitly about their business and what they're doing. And then they're like, oh gosh, that's a lot of work, man. What if I do all that and it doesn't work out? Bitch, shut up. Get the fuck out of here. What are you wasting my time for? What if I do all this and then I wouldn't be where I am today. Not everything that I've tried has always worked out, but it taught me something that I needed to know to get to the next level of where I'm at, and about not being fearful of new things that come onto my plate, so like, man up.
Man up, a woman up. And it's funny because you're like, you probably answered the question that I was going to ask you too with this, because when you talked about, being in these acting sessions, and these acting, instructors, and they tell people to do this and that and the other. And, sometimes it's not that clear. And, like you said, people get frazzled. you know, if you were an instructor, what would be one thing that you would want your class to know? Like the very beginning, like, okay, guys, before we get dirty, this is the first thing you guys need to know. What would that be?
Read.
You're like the fifth person that says that. Almost every actor says the same thing.
Yeah, and not reading Facebook posts and little articles and shit does not count as reading. Read novels. Read good novels. You know, there's a lot of stuff out there, but that's something that's going to help you to be able, like, every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and there's dialogue. Those are basic things that we know. Right. But when you read and your comprehension level starts to rise from figuring things out, you know, and all of that, like, that's what you need to work on, is reading and comprehension. Because once you've mastered that, yeah, and you're at a whole nother level than most people that are trying to do what you're doing.
It's hard nowadays because, you know, people don't want to read no more. You know, you kind of
no, they don't.
They just don't want to read no more. Now, think of it this way. Now, this is your class now. All right. So now you have Constance Payne's acting class. What is one thing you want your class to know to not do? Like, okay, guys, this is one thing before we even start. This is one thing I do not want any of you to do. What would that be?
Let me think. I guess just read flat. Don't read flat. Like, if you're reading flat, like, you've got nothing. Work on your voice. You know, your voice has to have a certain sense of presence. You need to be able, I wish I had some sides in front of me right now, because I would like show you, I would give you a little fucking thing right there. But every scene has, you know, you're building up and then you've got a moment. So it's like a spike, and then you got to bring it back down, and then you have another moment. Do we verbally fight like that as people? Maybe sometimes, but most of the time not. But that's what makes movies interesting, is that build up and bring down, build up and bring down. So think about it like a heartbeat monitor. Mm-hmm. I look at my lines like that. Like, when I see that, I'm visualizing my heartbeat and how I'm going to do that. So, so yeah, not reading flat, visualizing your scene as a heartbeat, that would be a big thing. And, you know, if I did have a lot of flat readers in the class, I would just be honest with them. You know, a lot of people, they can't take any type of constructive criticism. Like, before I critique somebody, I'll tell them something nice about what they did, and then I'll tell you what I didn't like. And I'm coming from a place of love and respect, because, you know, this isn't a competition to me. Like, we all are our own people. And, you know, if you get a part, it's because you were supposed to get that part.
But I think fly is a big deal. And I think, too, I would love for people to see themselves. Like, I would record them, like, read this.
Yeah.
You know, look at yourself. Would you want to see that? You know, it's kind of one of those things, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, so that's what we have to work at. Because once you see yourself, no one likes to watch themselves. I don't know how you are, but I know a lot of actors say that I hate, you know, seeing myself on screen. Even pros, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
He's like, yeah,
I don't care. I mean, there's a lot of things that I have filmed that I haven't even seen yet, honestly, and they're out there, and I could see them. I just, it's like, whatever. It's that project that I did, you know. And then there's certain roles where I'm always going to be my own worst critic. I'm, you know, and there's everything that I do, like, you know, I always walk off set going, yes, I did, you know, awesome, I did my job. And then when I see the final cut, I'm like, if I had just done this or that, it would have been better. It could have been better. But everybody still thinks it's fucking awesome. So sweet. Like, I did my job, but I'm always striving to be better. Like, I definitely didn't get any participation trophies when I was a fucking kid. I earned my shit. So, you know, constructive criticism, it's like, did nobody ever do that when you were growing up? Just everything you've ever done, everybody just said, yay, that was great.
Well, you know, they're doing that now with the, you know, I mean,
and like, it's doing more harm than good.
I know, exactly. They grow up thinking they everything is owed to them. Anyway, that's that's another discussion.
I'm old school with you
kids.
on that too, man.
I'm there, man. You know, little backhand is all right. You know what I mean? You know, but all in all, man, I mean, you've done so much, Constance. I mean, it's you know, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I mean, you have just shown, I think, another side that I haven't seen, you know, and another side that people would like to see and know more about you. And I think this is great. So I appreciate you joining me tonight.
And Penny, she perked up. She was sitting in my lap most of the
she
time.
wants some airplay. Hey,
she's
babe,
like, I couldn't do it without Penny Poo Poo and my loving husband Matthew.
See, that's the secret sauce, right? That's the secret dog. That's it. That's what keeps her.
Yeah.
That's it right there. So have one of those. You're right. All right,
keep
Constance.
complimenting her. She loves it.
See that. She's just looking at the camera and whatnot, just hamming it up there. So, but thanks again, Constance, and we'll be seeing you in the movies. I know we are. So everyone out there, look for her. She has a lot of things coming. She's definitely going to be in my series in season 2. So we'll look out for that. That's going to be very different. It's going to be kick-ass too. So just get ready for season 2 of World of Worlds, and also keep an eye out for her on other projects. You're always going to know she's there because someone is getting probably kicked. So
yes. Follow me on Facebook. Whenever I can post something that's coming out, I do. But, you know, it's a secret sauce, man. You got to kind of wait till all that final cut and everything is done. I can drop little hints here and there, but not fully disclose unless I'm given the 100% okay.
I just follow her. Just follow her, guys. All right. So thanks again. And everyone, I'll see you guys later.